My girlfriend cheated and got pregnant with another man. Right when I was going to propose at Christmas, her sister exposed everything. Now the family harasses me, demanding I raise a child that's not mine, and they never expected what I did. I'm 26 years old. I work in a factory since I got out of college, and I need to tell this story because there are still people who think I'm the bad guy here. What happened a few years ago basically destroyed any faith I had in relationships. But it also taught me that sometimes people are so broken that there's no way to fix them. And the best thing you can do is walk away and move on with your life. I guess I should start from the beginning. When I met Amanda in 2015, we were in college. I was studying business administration because, honestly, I had no idea what to do with my life, but it sounded good, and she was studying graphic design or something like that. We met at a party, you know, one of those typical college parties where everyone's half drunk and the music is so loud you have to yell to talk. She was pretty, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in me, which wasn't common because I was pretty shy back then. We started dating, and things went well for a while, or so I thought. Amanda's family was another story. Her dad, David, was a quiet guy, kind of reserved, but he always treated me well. Never had any problems with him. But her mom, Helen, that woman hated me from day one, and I'm not exaggerating. I don't know what I did to make her hate me so much. Literally from the moment we met, you could feel the tension. She always looked at me like I was trash, made passive-aggressive comments about my job, my family, the way I dressed, whatever. Amanda would tell me not to pay attention to her, that her mom was like that with everyone, but I knew it wasn't true because I'd see her being super nice to Amanda's other friends. There was also Sophie, Amanda's younger sister. She was like 15 when we started dating. She was cool, always treated me well. She was one of the only people in that family that I felt genuinely didn't judge me all the time. By 2019, we'd been together for like 4 years, and I thought things were serious. Yeah, we had our problems. Amanda was kind of dramatic sometimes, and Helen was always there, being Helen, but I loved Amanda, and I thought she loved me. I had started working at the factory after graduating. It wasn't my dream job, but it paid well, and I was doing a ton of overtime because I was saving up to buy her an engagement ring. I'm not talking about just any ring. I was saving for a good one. I'd been looking at options and everything. I was planning to propose at Christmas. I had it all planned out. It was going to be romantic and special and all that shit. How naive I was, seriously. Things started getting weird, like in October or November of that year. Amanda was distant, always on her phone, canceling plans, saying she was busy with work, but never really explaining with what. I thought maybe she was stressed or that I was being paranoid. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. All the signs were there. But I guess when you trust someone, you don't want to believe they're betraying you. One time, I saw her texting, and when I got close, she closed her phone super fast, and when I asked who it was, she said it was her boss. Another time, she came home smelling like men's cologne and told me she'd hugged a cousin. Stupid excuses that I swallowed because I wanted to believe everything was fine. Then Christmas, 2019 came, and my world went to hell. We had gone to Amanda's parents' house for Christmas dinner. I had the ring in my pocket. I was nervous as hell, sweating and everything. Dinner was awkward as always when Helen was around, but I was so focused on my plan that I barely paid attention to her. After dinner, we were in the living room and I was waiting for the right moment to do it. When Sophie came down the stairs with something in her hand, she looked weird, like scared and angry at the same time, and she walked straight up to me. She said, "Brandon, I need to show you something," and handed me a pregnancy test. Positive. I just stood there like an idiot looking at this thing, and I said, "What is this? Are you pregnant?" Because for a second I thought maybe Sophie was pregnant and was asking me for advice or something. I don't know. My brain wasn't processing right. But then Sophie said, "It's not mine, it's Amanda's. I found it in her bathroom," and the whole room went silent. Amanda turned white. Helen started yelling something. David got up from his chair, and I just couldn't process what was happening. I looked at Amanda and said, "Are you pregnant?" And she started crying and saying, "We could talk about this in private." Helen was yelling at Sophie for getting into things that weren't her business. Sophie was yelling back that someone had to tell Brandon the truth. It was a total mess. I was still standing there with this pregnancy test in my hand and the ring in my pocket, feeling like the biggest idiot in the world. I asked Amanda how long she'd known, and she wouldn't answer me. Just cried. Then Sophie, bless Sophie, said, "She's known for like 2 months, and it's not yours, Brandon. She was with another guy." And that's when it really hit me. She wasn't just pregnant, she was pregnant with another guy's baby. She'd been cheating on me for who knows how long. I asked her who it was, and Amanda just kept crying and saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Helen yelled at me to get out of her house, that this was my fault anyway, which made no sense, but Helen never made sense. David tried to calm everyone down, but nobody was listening to him. I just left. I grabbed my jacket, walked out of that house, and drove to mine. I didn't cry at that moment. I was like in shock, just driving on autopilot. When I got home, I sat in my car for like an hour, just staring at nothing. I still had the ring in my pocket, and I kept thinking about how close I came to proposing to someone who was betraying me. Eventually, I went inside, threw the ring somewhere, I don't even remember where, and stayed up all night trying to understand how I'd been so stupid. The next few days were horrible. Amanda sent me like 100 messages a day, calls, everything. I didn't answer any of it. I blocked her number, deleted all my social media, basically became a ghost. I didn't want to know anything about her family, anything about anyone who had to do with that whole situation. I changed my phone number in January and only gave it to my family and close friends. My sister Ruby asked me what happened because she knew we were going to get engaged, and when I told her, she got furious. She wanted to go yell at Amanda, but I asked her not to. I just wanted to forget everything and move on. A few months passed and I was starting to feel better. Like it still hurt, but it wasn't that constant pain from the beginning, you know? I was focusing on work. I'd started going to the gym. I was hanging out more with my friends. And then, like mid-2020, I found out from a mutual friend that the guy Amanda had cheated on me with had left her. Turns out this guy didn't want to be a dad, and when he found out Amanda was pregnant, he just disappeared. Part of me felt satisfaction when I found that out. I'm not gonna lie, but another part of me felt sorry for the baby who wasn't to blame for any of this. I thought that was the end, that Amanda would move on with her life, and I'd move on with mine. But oh no, things were just getting started. I don't know how she got my new number, but one day my phone rang and it was Amanda. I answered without thinking, and there was her voice, crying, apologizing, saying she'd made the worst mistake of her life, that she missed me, that she wanted us to be a family. A family? Can you believe it? She wanted me to raise some other guy's kid after betraying me. I told her she was crazy, that I'd never in my life get back with her, and hung up. I blocked the number again, but she kept finding ways to contact me. Different numbers, new social media accounts. It was basically harassment. Then, Helen's messages started. This was like March or April 2021. Over a year had passed since the whole disaster, and this woman sends me a message telling me I'm a coward, that I need to take responsibility, that Amanda and her grandson need me. Responsibility for what? I answered. I didn't do anything. That's not my son. But Helen insisted that I had to be there for Amanda, that I had abandoned her in her most difficult moment. All this really ugly psychological manipulation. I told her to leave me alone or I'd have to take legal action, and she didn't write me again for a while. I thought everything had finally calmed down, until one day, I think it was Mother's Day that year. I was at Red Lobster with my mom celebrating, and guess who walks into the restaurant? Helen and Sophie. As soon as Helen saw me, I could see the fury on her face. But surprisingly, she didn't make a scene. She just looked at me with pure hatred and sat at another table. Sophie saw me, gave me a kind of awkward smile, and sat with her mom. I just wanted to finish my food and get out of there as fast as possible, honestly. When we were leaving, Sophie caught up with me in the parking lot. She told me she needed to talk to me, that there were things I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't want to know anything, but Sophie had always been good to me, so I gave her the chance. She told me the whole story of what really happened. Turns out Helen had basically orchestrated the whole disaster. There was this guy, a son of one of Helen's friends or something, and Helen wanted Amanda to date him because he came from a family with money. Helen had been pressuring Amanda to break up with me for months, telling her I had no future, that I'd never be able to give her the life she deserved, all that garbage. Eventually, Amanda met this guy at a gathering that Helen organized, and that's where it all started. But here comes the craziest part. Sophie told me that part of the reason Helen hated me so much was because she thought I was cheating on Amanda. What? I said. I never cheated on anyone. Turns out Helen had seen my sister Ruby and me together at a mall one day. Ruby had hugged me and Helen assumed she was my mistress or something. She didn't even bother to ask Amanda who she was. She just assumed the worst and started her campaign to drive Amanda away from me. When I told Amanda that the girl was my sister, Helen had already planted so many doubts in her head that Amanda didn't completely trust me anymore. It's incredible how one person can destroy so much with their assumptions and manipulations. Sophie told me she felt horrible about everything, that Amanda was super regretful, and that the baby, who was like a year old by then, was a difficult child, and Amanda was struggling a lot being a single mom. Sophie herself was starting to hate her mom for all the drama she'd caused. I thanked her for telling me everything, but made it clear that I wasn't getting back with Amanda, that what happened happened and there was no way to fix it. A few months later, Sophie contacted me again, but this time it was for something completely different. She'd bought a laptop at the store where I worked, sometimes on weekends, doing overtime. She needed help with the warranty or something. I helped her because I genuinely liked Sophie and had nothing against her. We ended up going to lunch after, and David, her dad, joined us. It was weird but nice at the same time. David apologized to me for everything. Said he felt bad for not defending me more at the time, that Helen had manipulated him too. I liked David. I'd always liked him. He was a good guy, trapped in a horrible situation. But then the inevitable happened. We were at the restaurant, and Amanda showed up. I don't know if Sophie told her where we were, or if it was a coincidence, but there she was, with the baby and everything. As soon as she saw me, she started walking toward our table, and I already knew this was going to be bad. She stood in front of me with tears in her eyes and started saying she missed me, that she'd ruined everything, that her son needed a father. I told her as calmly as I could that she needed to leave, that this wasn't appropriate, that I'd moved on with my life and she needed to do the same. But Amanda kept standing there, literally begging me to be her son's father, to forgive myself for abandoning her. For abandoning her? Seriously? David and Sophie tried to get her out of there, but Amanda wouldn't move. Finally, I told her that if she didn't leave, I was going to call management, and that made her react. She left crying with the baby, and I just sat there feeling horrible. Not for her, but for the kid who had to grow up with all this craziness. David apologized 1,000 times, and we all left the restaurant. I thought that was truly the end. That after that scene, Amanda would finally understand we weren't getting back together, but Helen wasn't done. Oh, no. Like a week later, she calls me screaming, telling me I'm a monster for rejecting Amanda in front of her son, that the kid asked her if I was his dad. That broke my heart, I'm not gonna lie, but I told Helen it wasn't my problem, that Amanda had made her choices and now had to live with the consequences. Helen started saying she was going to sue me for I don't know what, that she was going to get me fired from work, that she was going to ruin my life. I told her to do whatever she wanted but to leave me alone and hung up. Things kept escalating. The first time she came to the factory asking for me, security didn't let her in, but they let me know there was a woman looking for me. The second time she waited in the parking lot and intercepted me when I was leaving. She started yelling at me right there in front of all my coworkers, calling me everything, saying I was the father of Amanda's kid, that I was evading my responsibilities. I had to call security again, and they removed her from the property. My boss asked me what was going on, and I had to explain the whole situation to him. It was super embarrassing. The third time Helen showed up at my work was the last straw. She managed to get into the building, I don't know how, and made it all the way to my work area yelling and making a scene. My coworkers didn't know what to do. Some thought it was some kind of emergency. Security came running and had to physically remove her from the building while she screamed that I was a coward, that I was destroying her family. All kinds of things. My boss had to report the incident, and Helen was permanently banned from the property. I had to file a police report and consider a restraining order. The last update I had was like 6 months ago. Sophie wrote me saying her dad, David, was considering divorcing Helen. Apparently, all this drama had been the last straw for him, too. Helen had become completely obsessed with getting me back with Amanda, and he was tired of living with someone so toxic. Sophie said she was going to stay with her dad if it happened, that she couldn't stand her mom anymore. Amanda apparently is still a single mom. The kid is like 3 years old now. And according to Sophie, she's struggling a lot, but at least Helen finally stopped harassing me. I don't know if I did the right thing in all this. I still ask myself sometimes, even today. But what I do know is that I wasn't going to let them manipulate me into raising the child of the person who betrayed me, just because her family thought I had some obligation. Sometimes I think about that kid and wonder how he's doing, because he really isn't to blame for being in the middle of all this mess. But I'm not his dad. I never was. And pretending to be just out of pity or pressure wouldn't be fair to either of us. Now, I'm 26. I still work at the factory. I'm dating someone new who's completely different from Amanda, and I'm in therapy because all this really left me with trust issues. My therapist says I did the right thing, setting boundaries and not letting them manipulate me, but there are still days where I wonder if I'm selfish or if I should have handled it differently. The truth is, I don't know anymore. I just know I'm trying to move forward and build a life that isn't full of drama and manipulation. And if that makes me the bad guy in Helen and Amanda's story, then I guess I can live with that.